What's good, America? It's your man, Reggie Florima, aka Big Flo. On with one of my homies from 1991, all the way back, coming in from East Coast, now lower East Coast, South Bend to Chicago, Shawn Wooden. What's up,
What's
Shawn?
up? What's up, Rage, man? What's up, buddy?
Nothing, man. I see you. I saw you rocking your head. You like the intro. That shit was bumping a little bit, wasn't
Oh
it?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I like
we
the
tried to do a
music.
little
It's not
something.
bad, bro. Yeah,
Yeah, see, me and Shawn go way back. I believe we were on our same recruiting visit, if I'm not mistaken.
I
Were
do
you there back
believe
a
so.
weekend? Yeah, same recruitment
Yeah.
weekend. We both picked Notre Dame. He went on to do great things, and I'm here to make him tell you guys all about it. So, anyway, Shawn, Shawn came out of Harrisburg, Philly.
Philly.
Philly, I'm tripping.
I'm a
Normally,
Philly
I had that
boy,
written
man. I'm
down.
on that. I'm on the East Coast of Pennsylvania. I'm not from that What?
The middle of the state.
The
He's from
middle of the
Philly.
states, like
He's
the
from
Midwest.
Philly. Yeah, Philadelphia came to Chicago to see what the Midwest cold weather is really like. Check us out. DB came out in 1996, six-round draft choice by the Miami Dolphins. Then he spent a stint, came up and visited me for a couple of years with the Bears, or maybe just a year, right?
Just 1 year, bro.
Just
Just
one
1 year.
year.
Yeah.
And then he said, I'm going back. I'm going back to Florida. As you can see,
Yeah.
that's where he
It's
decided
cold.
to
Too
rest
cold,
his
bro.
head. He's out there hanging out. But I hate how people show up, right? So he's got palm trees in the back, sunny, but he got the nerve to wear a sweatshirt. Like it's just like a little chilly.
Like I was telling you,
Man,
man.
I'll
It's
show you
like
some real
75
cold. I can
degrees
turn this
here, bro.
camera outside. Huh? What'd you
It's
say?
75 degrees here, man. It's cold. It's
Kind of
cold.
chilly,
You
I
know,
know.
when it
It's
gets below
brisk.
80, when it gets below 80 degrees down here in South Florida, we all put on our Uggs and our parkas and all that.
Well, you know what? We look forward to the summer. We enjoy our weather more because it only comes about 4 or 5 days a year. So we'll be sitting around waiting for that. So anyway, man, I'd like to tell the listeners out there, just the viewers, kind of a little bit about yourself. So I know you came out of Philly, you came to Notre Dame. Let's my normal question I like to ask: what were your five choices when you came out?
So, I had a little bit more than five choices, but
No, I mean, what did you narrow it down
it
to?
was basically came down to I narrowed it down to either Notre Dame and Penn State were the two finalists for me.
Final
I
two,
looked at
yeah.
Georgia Tech a little just
Hmm.
because of the engineering degree and all that. I wanted to get an engineering degree. Also looked at Duke for a little bit, but
But you want
I
to
had
win a
a
few
little
games.
incident there when I was on my recruiting visit with. Yeah, I had a little incident
Hey,
with
this
Bobby
this show
Hurley
can
and
also
Christian
it can
Laettner.
quickly
So
become a tell-all too. Now you can tell the stories now. The statute of limitations is over. You didn't know your life back then, so you care to tell a
yeah,
story,
yeah,
or we're gonna leave that out the story.
yeah. I got a little into an altercation with Bobby Hurley and Christian Laettner on my visit because they had a
Everybody
they
hit.
had a game against UNC and was hanging out with a couple girls and all that stuff after the game and all. And then Bobby Hurley came up and asked me while I was speaking with while I was talking to his girlfriend and the way he approached me. So I'm from
Too much
Philly,
bass in
man.
his voice.
A little bit too much bass in his voice.
Too
So
much bass.
basically I asked him which one was his girlfriend, and he was like that one. I was like, well, man, that's the ugliest one in the group. So why would I talk to her? So
Mm, that's
and
a fair.
then
That's solid. That's a
my
solid for a high school kid. That's a
my
solid comeback when you knew who he was.
that was a solid.
So after
Yeah,
you guys started
yeah. I didn't know who the
wrestling,
hell he was.
oh, you didn't know who he was. I'm about to say after you guys started
Not
tussling,
at
I want to
all,
know.
bro.
So that makes for a tough visit. So it's
Well, no,
kind of
it
hard.
didn't. It didn't get to a tussle. Yeah, it didn't get to a tussle. But the main thing from the story was, I was asking where my host was there with me, a couple of football players. They all bailed out, and I'm like, What's going on, man? What's up?" And they were like, "Man, we can't get in a fight with the basketball team. We'll get kicked out of school." And I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh man, I
you had
can't
to
go
know your
to a
place.
school that."
They had too much juice. You
And
can't go over to Duke. Who,
they
Duke football?
they
Did they
they
have a football team?
you know football team. Yeah, football team's afraid of the basketball team. Come on, man, I can't go to a school like that.
That's tough. That's tough. So you come to South Bend. You came to the right place. You come to Notre Dame. You show up in
Yeah,
there. He was a running back coming out of high school. Famous story, guys here. He once made Eddie George transfer high schools to play. That was his famous saying. And I believe when we went to the national championship game, I think you verified that in front of some people. Tell us how that went down.
oh, what were you talking about? The Florida State game?
Nah, Eddie George in high school. Didn't you go to the same high school as Eddie
Oh,
George?
Eddie George, yeah, Eddie. No, Eddie did leave. Was my backup.
Hold on a second. I'm losing you. I've got a little connection. I know you're on this prepaid phone.
You got me.
I got you now. We're back. All
Okay,
right.
my bad. So yeah, my high school coach had Eddie George backing me up coming in the 11th grade and all that. Then Eddie went out to military school because he had some things that he had to take care of.
Yeah, some stuff I had to clean up.
Some stuff he had to clean up and make sure that he was going to do what he do. But it's funny because in the 11th grade, Eddie George was smaller than me, and I wasn't big. So I'm like, so it's always the next time I saw Eddie was when we played him at Ohio State. And they're talking about, oh yeah, man, this big 6'3", 6'4" running back, 235, 245 pound fullback, and I'm like, Eddie George, that can't be the same Eddie
That's
George.
not the
I
same
know
Eddie from Philly. That dude's not from Philly.
that's not from Philly, and
That's
then
Eddie from
once we
Flint. Yeah.
and next thing you know, I'm like, damn, that's what happened, bro? What happened to you? What happened to me? Like, I'm looking at him, and but I always mess with him because I say, hey man, you were my backup in high school, so.
For sure,
That,
back up now. Hey, you
I,
made
I
him
tell him I
hungry. You
forced
gave
him.
him the hunger
I
that he
made
needed
I
to
made
get
him
the
go
high.
to military school to be able to get a start.
Yeah,
To get a job.
you never know military school. What kind they were feeding him over there? Some experimental
Yeah,
stuff. Because Eddie George does not look like a normal human being coming out of the cyborg, coming out that
that
backfield. So that's
that man's
fantastic.
still a beast to this day, man. I mean, I look at him, I'm like, dude, you got body by God, bro. Hey, you were God bless, bro.
Yeah, hey, say some people got to be like that, right? You got to. That's why they pay him the big bucks, right? Because he wasn't built the
Oh
same
yeah,
way as everybody else to do it.
exactly. That's why he has a
So
couple
you,
trophies.
so you experienced, enjoyed a 9 year NFL career. One
Yeah.
thing about Shawn too, when you get to school, everybody gets in. Everyone in Notre Dame was a pretty good student in high school, right? You get in there and you find out some people, better than others. Some high schools were easier than others. Do whatever. Shawn was one of them dudes that could just go to Notre Dame. He just happened to play football, but he could just go. But he used to keep it low. Everybody's like, man, what's your GPA? People are like, oh man, I got like a 2.7. I don't know about 2.6. Shawn, what you got? I got a 4.7. What? Sean's out there tell you. I always took school seriously,
I
man. I
was,
always respected everybody.
yeah,
So
man. I was
because of that,
fortunate, bro. School became easy to me for some
school
reason, man.
came easy to you.
It was just
Yeah,
one of
I
those
mean,
things, man.
hey,
That was my God bless given ability, I
that
guess.
was your superpower, right?
Yeah,
Intelligence.
that
I,
was my
I think
superpower.
most people at this age would probably trade their whatever superpower that they think they got for some intelligence. So,
Yeah.
you transitioned that well. So you took that. Were you a finance major at Notre Dame or
Nah,
engineering?
actually, I was a computer science, computer engineering major. I had a
Okay.
minor in finance because I went those 5 years. So I'm gonna tell you the
Yeah,
truth. I could have graduated probably in 3.5 years. Just
I
from
beat you. I graduated in 3, but I digress. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, because we always were there because of during the summer and all that stuff. But I changed my major my freshman year. I was an electrical engineering major, and I went over to computer science and computer engineering because just the classwork and the load was just too much. And uh, basically, it came a class where I had to miss a couple of practices, and Lou Holtz basically came to me and said, "Son, you got to realize who's paying for your college here." So
True that. You're not here as an
sort of,
engineer. Son, your ass is not on a damn ass engineering scholarship. You
yeah,
paying football. Well, you come back and
exactly,
you can find out. Maybe he did
yeah.
you a favor because you don't want to be an engineer now anyway, right?
Well, I'm happy what I'm doing right now. So hey,
Yeah, so it worked out. So you transition out of the NFL and you go right into finance, or financial planning. Did you start your own firm, or who do you work for, or who
nah.
did you
So
work for?
at first I started with and I did the insurance side of it. So I went with MetLife and all that. Did a couple of years with MetLife, the principal. Now I'm with my own firm. Joined a firm that has a 40-year existence. Have a couple partners, and we're just doing our thing down here in South Florida, and actually across America. So we have clients in pretty much almost all states.
It's fantastic. Somebody tried to draw some similarities between you and a certain TV show, Ballers, because The Rock had an injury similar to yours, came out and he started attacking players. Did they talk to you about that show at all, or is that something that just is a coincidence?
All I know is, Dwayne knows me from the Dolphins and all that stuff. They're down here and all that, but I'm not receiving any royalties, so I guess it wasn't based off of me.
So it's just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence.
It's
I
just a
understand. There's a lot of
coincidence.
coincidental
Yeah,
things I have with people in the world
yeah,
too, but me and Denzel
yeah. I
just
mean,
happened to.
there's only too many stories out there about football players.
Now, do you focus your clientele on athletes or wealth in
Not
general?
at
Or
all. Nah, we focus it all on, all over. We do have a division that has, sports and entertainment, but, I deal with small business owners, executives. I even have, teachers, teachers, firefighters,
well,
police officers, like.
if you got some money, I got your attention. That's what it is. So, well, I
Nah,
mean,
yeah.
that's good. You're one of the real good success stories that comes out of the NFL. People well respected. And also, I mean, some point that you represented. Didn't you hold some positions of union positions or something with you in the NFL?
Well, I mean, right now, I'm the president for the Miami Dolphins Advisory Board. I'm
Okay.
the chairman. I'm the chairman of the board for the Maxwell Football Club, which gives out the Maxwell Award, the Chuck Bednarik Award, and several other awards. I mean, what I like to say about the Maxwell Football Club, which is based out of Philly, is that we celebrate football at all levels. We go from the high school level. We give high school Offensive Player of the Year awards. We give several different awards at the collegiate level, as far as like the Maxwell and Chuck Bednarik Coach of the Year, and then in the NFL we give as well as legendary. So we like to celebrate football, and football is very important to me. It was a very important part of my life, so I give back in that way as much as possible.
But it says a lot when you can come away from the game and be one of the chosen few that they choose to represent and be an ambassador in the game. You had a great NFL career, but you're probably, in the long run, going to be known for what you brought to the NFL after your playing days and before. And I think that says a lot. One thing a lot of people probably don't know is that you were one of the named people in the lawsuit for the concussion lawsuit. Yourself and the gentleman that I looked his name up and I didn't write it down before we called him,
Kevin Turner. Kevin
Kevin Turner.
Turner. Unfortunately, yeah. So there was two class representatives for the NFL lawsuit, and one was Kevin Turner, who was representing the asymptomatic. Unfortunately, Kevin passed away from ALS and the difficulties of that, and I represented the asymptomatic. So we pretty much represented, I would say, out of the 20 to 22,000 former players, we had about 18,000 sign up for the concussion lawsuit at the end of the day. So, it was a big weight on my shoulders, and
Mhm.
Kevin's shoulders. So we
So how did you get did they pick you for any specific reason? Did you have a relationship with attorneys? How did that kind of work out?
no, I didn't know. The attorneys reached out to me and asked me would I do this? Would I step up and become the class representative. And at first, I had no idea what it was about.
Mhm.
What the you know everything that would be asked of me to do. Going to federal court in front of the judge and things like that. Being in on the meetings in regards to the settlement. Just asking me, certain different things, being able to, get guys. I believe one day, we went to New York. Once the settlement was done, we went to New York and did about 20 and 25 different interviews
Mm.
across the nation, in one day, just to be able to get guys to sign up and make sure that they were taken care of. It was more than I thought, but I'm very, very proud of doing it. A lot of people took it, and there was some pushback because I have a son that plays, and that plays college football, and he was playing high school football at the time, so they were all like, how can you be for the concussion case, but have a kid that's playing football? And again, it's I have a love for the game, and I know what the game can do for an individual and do for everybody that's involved in it. No matter if you're on that team, Reggie, it just gives you characteristics, and it really brings to a person. It's more that you're trying to get a goal that's more than you. It's more
Mhm.
than it's not only you. It's not only about you. It gives you that discipline, the structure. There's several other different things that the sport brings to an individual that I think is very beneficial. But I wanted to raise the awareness of it because I know that if we did it at the NFL level, it'd be a trickle down effect, to the college level and to the optimist level and into the kids that play the game, and that reaches millions of people. And like I said, at first I didn't realize that when I signed up for it, but
Mhm.
I was very fortunate that I did.
So how long did the whole process take from the time you guys filed to the time they finally awarded the?
Oh man, it was years. I mean, you talk about 5, 6 years of grind, man, and especially those last couple of years. I mean, my own brothers, that I call brothers, guys that played the game, reaching out to me and telling me I was doing the wrong thing with the settlement and things like that. And at the end of the day, when you make a settlement, both sides have to give on certain things.
So,
So it's
so,
one of those
so
things.
elaborate on that. Not, I don't want you to name any names, but like, what were the things that you too low of a dollar amount, or
Too low of a dollar amount, you're not including certain things in it. You're not doing what's right for the whole class. I mean, there was just several different things, and at
Mhm.
the end of the day, you have to look at it as a whole. You have to look at it as everybody and make sure that one class will have to give for another class of
Right?
people. But at the end of the day, is we wanted to make sure everybody was treated fairly, and that's what we did. Now, I
Yeah,
think it was
and
a
yeah, you look into
success.
you don't want to bring the sport, as you mentioned. I think you hit something really, really strong there. As you mentioned, your son plays football. You still love the sport, but yeah, you do feel like there's some liability, and those things don't have to be mutually exclusive. So, you want to
Exactly.
make things right for some of these players that battled through it. You also don't want to bring the NFL to their knees, right? You want to make sure this is
Yeah.
something where they can sustain and do whatever, and do that. What was the final dollar amount of the settlement?
Well, well, actually, it's unlimited. We went back to the judge, and at first it was a dollar amount put on the settlement that there was going to be a certain amount, but we negotiate with the NFL and the owners. I mean, they stepped up. They stepped up to the plate, and they basically made it unlimited. So, if you were retired before a certain amount of date, you're going to be covered for the next 65 years of your life, which pretty much covers you for the rest of your life. And
Be covered in
heaven
what way, from an
forbid you're
insurance
70.
standpoint, or just
Yeah,
taking
from a
care of you?
not well for a dollar amount. If you're 70 years old, I'm 47 years old right now, and if I'm 70 and all of a sudden get having some issues with maybe a traumatic brain injury, or something that has to deal with cognitive issues, I'll still be covered under the concussion lawsuit.
Mhm.
It basically gave us, and then it also took care of the guys that were already experiencing some type of symptoms from that traumatic brain injury that I was talking about. So whether you have ALS or any type of Parkinson or anything else in regards to CTE and things like that. Now it didn't cover CTE technically, but it did cover the symptoms of CTE.
I
Because
got you.
unfortunately, right now, CTE you can only diagnose it when you die.
When you die, right? So then,
And
well, is there a provision in
we
there
want to
if you
be able.
die CTE for your heirs?
Well, if you die beforehand, now if you die from CTE, it will not cover you. However, you will be experiencing some symptoms, so you will be getting covered from those symptoms. So
So, like, if a player were to die from CTE,
more than
unfortunately,
likely, he was experiencing something
hmm
4 or 5 years before then. So
yeah.
he'll go through this, and he'll be getting some type of
What about his
compensation
family when he's
for those
gone?
symptoms. Now
What
his
about his
family will
family?
not get a lump sum right now,
Okay.
but again, no, we did put into the settlement that every 10 years we'll go back to it, we'll review it, and there's a board that goes in through, and if there's we had to base it off of the science as of that date. The
hmm
science wasn't there right now. So you can't go and say, hey, if the science, nobody's going to sign up for that. Nobody's going to sign off on that on the NFL side. So we had to go by the science that was available to us at that date. And that science said that, you will have symptoms, and the symptoms that basically that, from CTE, that's, from the cause of CTE, it, you're going to get compensated off of those symptoms.
Now, I hear that not a lot of people are getting money though. So obviously, the NFL's got good
Dude, there's over
attorneys.
$800 million that's been paid out already. At first, the settlement was for 900 million. So I'm saying that's a win. You talk about 2 or 3 years after the settlement, over $800 million has been paid out. To me, that's
Okay.
that's a win because at the end of the day, I'm still covered and I'm asymptomatic. You know,
hmm
thousands of other players are still covered and they asymptomatic. Out of, like I said, out of the 20,000
I didn't hear that.
individuals,
800 million. There must be
that's
some momentum
800. Yeah,
lately.
yeah, no, it was some good momentum. I mean, especially in the last year. Of course, with the settlement, there's always some things that that go on when you file for it and things like that. You got to make sure that you dot all your I's and cross your T's when you're dealing with it because at the end of the day, the NFL does have the right to audit basically
Investigated.
your
Yeah.
investigate it and unfortunately, sometimes when you have a settlement like as large as, especially when you say an unlimited settlement, you have some fraud in there as well.
A little bit, got a little hustling. I mean,
Just a little
it's
bit of
it's
hustle,
rough when
but
you
that's
think
it.
about the transition for football and kind of. I look at a guy like yourself. You played 9 years in the NFL and you went right into a successful career. We both know that's not the normal story for a lot of people, right? A lot of people don't know what to do.
Exactly.
Um, I think that they get in a situation where they're lost for a while. I have a lot of things where I can sit back and just look at guys that I've seen that play in the NFL where you made good money, you played just long enough where you start, having to support some people that maybe family members or friends and do whatever. And then when normally people, when you were done with the NFL, did you retire or did you get cut and just didn't get picked up?
Well, actually, I say I was fortunate because I ended up with an injury to my back again. Even though I had back surgery in college and all that, I had an injury which basically, there wasn't in my mind that I can come back and play. The
Hmm.
doctors basically told me don't play another down. You have at that time I had two boys, two kids, and they were like basically you want to have a relationship with those kids. You want to be able to play with those kids and be able to throw a ball and catch and just have a normal life with your kids. Don't play another down. So the game was basically taken away from me because of injury, which
Hmm.
it sucks, but it's fortunate in your mind, where you can't play anymore.
No,
Where
I
when you're
I
cut
think
and
that's
at the end of your career and all that, you think you still got it and you're still trying to get on the field and all that stuff, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult.
I agree. I look at most of the guys, you know, I've talked to through the years, which now we're getting older, when those people aren't talking, but
Yeah,
normally they get cut, and your agent doesn't want you to fire them right away in case you get picked up. So he says, "I got two or three teams that are talking to me about you right now. Don't worry, we
yeah.
got you. So now just keep in shape. So now you have zero income, you have as much expenditure as
You're
you had
paying your
before.
months expenses,
You
yeah,
can't cut
and
mama's
you're trying to hold
car
on.
off, right?
You're trying to
You got
hold
cut.
on,
You can't
man.
tell mom to sell the car. Just yet you hold on. So that might
See,
go a
for me,
season.
yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, see, for
Let's see.
me, I look at it as, our life is a book. I was able to
Hmm.
turn that chapter and start writing a new chapter because, again, like I said, that chapter was closed for me because of an injury. There was no
Yeah.
way I could be able to do it. Those guys that you're talking about that, your agent holds you on and say, hey, there's one or two teams I think I can get you on this team, or I have a good relationship, or they look like they need a safety. So, that
Hmm.
I don't have that where that chapter's still open. You have no idea when that chapter is going to end. My chapter was
Yeah.
ended for me.
Now, did you know you were going to get into financial planning prior to getting out of football? Like, did you?
Nah, man, I'm gonna tell you this. I was a computer major, and again, I had some endeavors in there. I had a sports bar and all that in a different city. I had different things out there that I was doing, and man, I'm gonna tell you this. For those first 3 months when I was officially retired, um, man. I had a friend that had a bar, a restaurant here, and it was like Cheers, man. I was there every day. I was Norm. I would show up, just hang out, and didn't know what I wanted to do with the next chapter of my life. And you know, I came to the conclusion that even though I was a computer science major, even though I knew computers very well, it was 10 years since I
Hmm.
graduated. So you're talking about I graduated in December of 1995,
Hmm.
and I'm looking at March and April of 2005, 10 years. I mean, think about how computers changed in those 10 years from 1995 to
Yeah,
2005.
right.
There was no way.
The
Basically,
button
everybody
was
was
in the back.
saying,
I remember the button was in the
yeah,
back. You had to put the little disc in there, and
exactly.
you had to type in
Bro, you
code.
talking about we had
Give me that
floppy disks,
Windows.
we had
How did we
everything,
do
bro.
this? How did
There
we
was
get
no
this
such
life? We
thing.
had no cell phones,
Yeah,
nothing.
no cell phone. Now I remember when I got a two-way pager, I thought I was the man.
I remember I got
So
the cell phone, and like you could page me. I wouldn't give you my phone number because that's too much money. But you could page me,
yeah,
and I put the phone
you could
on and
face
call you
me.
back,
I had a
or I
BlackBerry.
call
Come
you
on,
a
man. We had
landline.
Blackberries back then, man. I didn't even have an iPhone.
Winning
So
that Sky Pager, you were winning back then. So at that point,
yeah,
technology's moved on beyond you. So then, how did you end
yeah.
up in the financial planning?
So I ended up in finance training because I was dabbling in it a little bit when I was playing. When I had that signing bonus when I went to Chicago. I was taken advantage of.
Mhm.
Had a couple financial advisors in my life that basically took advantage of me playing football. Churning and doing a bunch of things that while I was playing, I wasn't keeping. No, I wasn't keeping a good eye on my money basically, and I was very fortunate to be able to play 9 years because I got past that amount, that time in my life. But if my career was over right after I got that assignment, hey, who knows where I would be?
Who
But I
knows?
was fortunate to be able to keep having a decent income.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people is I played with a bunch of Hall of Famers, but I was a Hall of nothing. You know, I wasn't that guy. I was a grunt. I was one of the grunts on the team. I wasn't the highest paid, but at the end of the day, I was playing in the NFL, so I was well compensated.
Making a little bit.
Um,
You did
Making
better
a little bit.
than the
Yeah,
computer science guy who
yeah, I
sat
was
next
doing
to you.
better than the guys I went to school with. I
Mm-hmm.
was doing. I always say is if you make the league, if you may be able to make it to the professional football or any professional sport, basically, you're going to be one of the highest paid graduates of your school or of your class. I would say, what I
Right.
mean, you come
Mm-hmm.
out as a junior or not, you're going to be one of the highest paid of the people you went to school with, especially those first couple of years, especially probably the first 10 years
Right.
out there. So, you know, it was just one of those things, man. I even
Oh,
looked at getting into coaching. Nick
yeah.
Saban, people don't realize Nick Saban took over the job in Miami when I retired. I
Mm.
interviewed with Nick Saban to
The coach.
become a coach. It took 5 minutes for me to say, "Hey, there's no way in hell I'm a
I'm
coach."
doing this. It's a special life being a coach, man. I mean, you got to go through a lot. You got to just love football and love being around it all the time. You got to have
Yeah, I
a
don't think I
woman
had the
that's
love of
cool,
the
never
game that
seen you.
much. I
So,
don't think I loved the game that much.
when we talk about how the financials work and things like that, and you talk about the mindset about having an injury in the game, the decision being made for you, where you don't have to sit there and mourn over or whatever. And I look at the reverse. Guys like myself or people that come out of school and they don't go to the NFL and they start working. You start making a little bit of money, and then you
Yeah,
make a little bit more, and it goes up and up and up and up. Hopefully, if your career goes the right way, you just keep making more money, or you get to a level that you're comfortable and you sustain that. And that's a
yeah,
mindset. That's who whatever. When I was 22 years old, I couldn't go to Cancun on and hit a weekend here and do that. I didn't have that kind of money, but then you start to build towards that. Whereas when you
exactly.
flip-flop it, when you get a professional athlete, you start off at 22 with more money than your parents ever made,
Yeah.
and then you do that for a while, and then it comes to a screeching halt, and the chances are you'll never ever make that money again, unless you're a commentator or a coach, which you
Yeah, I
probably
mean, unless you're one, I mean, to make it to the NFL, you wanted a select few. To make it to that broadcast career that you're talking about, that you're going to make millions of dollars afterwards. I mean, how many, Michael Shan is out there? How many Damary? I mean, how many of those guys are out there?
you those
There's
guys are
not
going
too
to do
many
it.
Peyton Mannings out there, dude. So at the end
Unless
of
you're a
the day, I
basketball
mean,
guy where you generate generational wealth from rookie year.
yeah,
Football guys, you're gonna have to earn some money
you're gonna have to
again.
spend some serious dollars. I mean, we don't get those. I mean, at the end of the day, man, you're one of 53 guys on the team.
Hmm.
It's not like you're generating that type of income where, like you said, different sports is different. Basketball is a little bit different. But you know, those guys don't always, do the right thing with their money and all that. So, that's one of the things that I was very, that brought me to this field is, you know, I brought my engineering background of going through things and being able how to come up with a solution to a problem and all that. I brought that to the financial world, and that's how I look at my clients is let's look at where you want to be, what you want to do, and all that stuff, and let's work backwards and
Hmm.
let's see what we got to do now and the steps that we got to put in place. I'm a flowchart guy, dude. I love flowcharts, and that's one of the things I incorporate into what I'm doing now is I'm gonna flow chart it out of this is how we're going to get to the solution. But these are the things that we have to do now. Of course, that's going to change because things happen. You might get married, you might get divorced, you might have 2 kids, you might have 4 kids. Some guys have 7 or 8 kids. It just depends on situation.
I just read a story about Antonio Cromartie who had not C-section, a vasectomy,
Some
and
kids have double-digit kids.
he still had another kid or two. He got like 15,
Yeah,
16. He's blessed. He's
yeah,
blessed.
yeah.
He'll have a
He's
lot of pallbearers when he passes away. So, what do you
yeah.
think the formula is? If somebody's coming out and I look at guys like Marshawn Lynch or Kevin Durant. You got guys who just are very famous for being so good with their money. And I hear things about Chad Ochocinco when he played for the Bengals. He used to get rides to practice because he didn't want to buy a car. You hear about all these great stories about people doing it. What do you think that formula is? You obviously have no idea how long you're going to be in the NFL, right? You come in there, you think, hey, I
That's
get
the
3 or 4 years out of
issue.
this thing. What are these guys doing with the money? Because if you'd have gave me $1 million when I was 22 years old,
You
knowing
gonna
that I
spend a million point five.
well, no, you know what? If you gave me $1 million at 22 years old, and I know that I wasn't going to be playing football anymore, my mentality is going to be different, right? Because I'm like, all right, well, I think my first job
Yeah,
I
but
made.
the thing is, Reggie, the problem is is when you're
Mhm.
22 years old, you don't think that's going to stop. That's
Nope.
the issue. That's the
Yeah.
issue is you think you're good enough to be able to play those 10, 12, 15 years. I mean, you got guys in the locker room that you're going to look at and you're going to be like, well, man, that guy's on his 12th year. I know I can do it.
Yeah.
So you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. You're trying to
Mhm.
keep up. I came in, there was Dan Marino on the team. I'm seeing Dan Marino, Dan played 17 years, and I was very fortunate to be there for his last 4 of his years and be able to be part of it. But I knew in my mind, and, luckily I was, my mom put it in me that, you know, tomorrow's not promised to you. And don't compare yourself to other people. Don't try to live like somebody else. I can't
Mhm.
afford, Dan Marino, hey, I can afford to go out to dinner with Dan when Dan's picking up the bill and we can go to, the expensive restaurants and I'm drinking $40 shots and all that stuff and everything. But,
But
I
then
made a hundred
they'll start
I made a
to
hundred something thousand dollars my rookie. I can't afford to do that.
once you start getting $40 shots and you're by yourself, it's kind of hard to get that little $2 shot.
Exactly.
Like, man, my
Exactly.
liver likes the $40 shot and all
I
that kind
need
of
I need the happy hour special, bro. When I'm with
right.
myself. When
Yeah.
I'm
So you
picking
got
up
to
the
get
bill. So yeah, I mean, you just got to know where you are at, who you are, and then again, like you say, is I mean, especially with football players, tomorrow's not promised to you, and there's no such thing as a guaranteed contract.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things that we got to, when I'm talking to my rookie, clients and all that stuff, and prospect and all that stuff, is basically saying, hey, you got to realize, hey, I want you to play 15 years. But you got to remember the average NFL career is 3. So if I got Tom Brady that's on his 20th year, how many
Mm.
players have to play 1 year in order for that to be an average of 3?
Right. You're right. People get there just a cup. That's what that cup of coffee. There's just drink
You
that
there
little
for a
sip.
cup of coffee and they be like, all right, see you tomorrow, bro. And that's it. I always say is, it doesn't take long for somebody to get, I told them they give you a bag of peanuts and a ticket to a slow boat to China, and that's it.
Mhm.
That's what my I was very fortunate that I had a DB coach my rookie year, man, and throughout my career with the Dolphins, Mel Phillips. He played 14 years in the league, 7 as a corner, 7 as a safety. He played for San Fran, and he coached for over 20 years. But he made sure we understood. Tomorrow's not promised to anybody, bro, and you know we're all out there for a contract. I mean, when you see on the NFL team, when you see them bringing in guys on a Tuesday, and those guys are hungry. And those
Starving.
guys want your job.
Starving.
And trust me, if I'm paying this dude $1 million and I can get a dude that I have to pay minimum for,
Mhm.
and
That's what
there might be
fullback,
some, there might be
NFL
some
fullback came in. So we can get you 3 years of concussions, and then we can get another guy with a fresh brain, give him 3 years of concussions, and get you up out of here.
exactly
We're not
and
paying
get you
nobody
up
a
out of
million
here.
dollars to catch this.
Exactly.
I
And now I'll
thank God.
never have to get to that 7-figure job. So hey,
So do you feel that college prepared you? Let's
no.
transition this to for life after football.
And I'm gonna tell you this: we were very fortunate to go to Notre Dame, and I think Notre Dame did a decent job. I'm not going to say they did a great job because I don't
Mhm.
think any really college really is going to prepare you for life after football, especially when you make it to the pro. I mean, I don't think that there's enough education. Now, again, we're totally different because we're talking generations ago. I mean, unfortunately, we're generations now. We're a generation back then. I mean, our kids are in college, or our kids are about to go to college. So, college is a little bit different. They are doing a little bit more player development at the college level, but we didn't
Mhm.
have a player development at Notre Dame. We had tutors. We had to make, they basically were making sure that we were eligible to play on Saturdays, and that was it. That's
You
all
can
they
walk.
cared about. They could care less about what we were doing after we graduated or if we even graduated.
If you die the next day, God bless you and your family. No, I
Exactly.
agree. I agree, and I ask you that because I look at your success, and again, unfortunately, it's a story. It shouldn't be a story, right? But unfortunately, your success is a story after football. But looking at today's era, things are definitely changing. You have a son that's playing at Columbia College right now. Obviously, he's got a great education that he's getting. I guarantee that that's a different experience than a Power Five
Yes.
experience when it comes to how are they taking this kid, because I know two other kids that play with your son, and the stuff that they're doing with these kids to get them ready. Um,
Yeah.
what do you wish colleges would have done differently for you when you were in school? Something a passionate conversation I have with many people, but I'd love to get your
Well,
take on
one
it.
of those things you're saying is, I mean, they're looking at life after football. I mean, that's the one thing about, I mean, you can say what you want about Ivy League and all that stuff and everything, but they prepare these kids for life after football, life after those 4 years. You know, when we went to Notre Dame, they all, you know, we hold all these claim, you know, you give me 4 years, I'll be there for 40 years after, you know, 4 for 40, or, the school was going to be there for you and all that. I just wish that the school was, I really wish that, they step up. And I mean, again, we were very fortunate to go to Notre Dame. I'm hearing stories about guys that went to other schools that, that wasn't a 4 year scholarship. It was a 4 year, 1 year renewable scholarship.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just crazy. Like
Hmm.
that's just, I mean, if I'm committing to you, you got to commit to me. There has to be a two-way street. It can't be an indentured servitude type of program where, I'm only good for you. I'm only good as long as I'm doing something good for you.
Right.
Hey, things happen. This is football. This is sports. Nothing's guaranteed tomorrow. And if I'm giving you that commitment that I'm gonna be here for 4 years, then you got to give me the commitment that you're going to help me and develop me as a person, not just
Hmm.
as a player, but as a person. And
Absolutely.
some schools are stepping up and doing it, and other schools are failing at it, dude. And I just wish that the NCAA would come in and you know make it a make it
Make them care.
mandatory,
Make them
make it
care. I'm
mandatory,
starting
make
to
them
see
care.
some schools, and I'll see that there's some schools that really get it, and I ask tough questions, and I'm
Hmm.
always asking people like, what are you going to do in this situation? How are you going to make sure? Because I'm passionate because I feel like you can take a kid and send him to an Ivy League school or Notre Dame or Duke or Stanford,
Stanford, yeah,
name it, really great school. And if he or she goes through that school, especially because you think about it, you're bringing in students that wouldn't normally apply to that kind of school, right? It's different if you're a
exactly.
normal student that just applies to the school because you know you you met all the criteria, right? So let's face it, you're
Hmm.
bringing in athletes that don't meet the criteria. They're better. A Notre Dame student is probably better than an Alabama student in general, as far as going. Not to
Let's
say
be
that Alabama
real, yeah.
good students, but in general, they have a higher standard there,
We're
and
recruiting different people. We're recruiting different athletes. Let's be
right?
real about it. Yeah.
They want a different guy to come in. Same thing Northwestern. And I'm not here to bash those other programs, but that's just kind of
No,
what their standard are. But even if let's take Alabama, Alabama may not be as good of a school as Notre Dame is, but the students that are there, if you're not teaching that person what to do with this degree that you have, if you don't teach them
exactly.
how to go apply it, it's like right now I can pick you a rock and hand it to you and say, "What is this rock?" You say, "I don't know. It's the paperwork. Throw it away." No, that's a rough diamond, man. You got to know how to
Yeah.
chip that thing away. There's the Hope diamond is in there, but if you picked up a diamond before somebody cleaned it up, you wouldn't know what it was. It looks like just a rock. It's no big deal. If you come out of Notre Dame and you come out of any other colleges, any school you go to, and they're not intertwining you with people while you're relevant. So while you're a player, intertwining with you,
While
then you
you're
really,
relevant, while that door is open,
yeah. While
let's
people want
help
to talk,
you. Let's help you develop your network. Let's help you
yeah.
do this. Let's help you that. I mean, we all know the network is very important. I
Hmm.
don't care what you're going to do in life. I don't care if you're just going to be, and it's not just who you're going to be, but if you're a teacher, like I said, teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, a firefighter, a police officer, you still need a network. You still that there's always. I always believe that there's always somebody that can help you out.
Always.
There's always that can help your situation.
Hmm.
And if that college is not doing their job helping you get those,
Mm. Well, I lost him, young man. So hopefully he'll dial back into this show. But um, technical difficulties are part of today's society. And I think he's on a prepaid cell phone. So that's one thing how he saves his money is by paying up front. And hopefully he'll dial in before I run out of jokes to say. But until then, I'm going to continue telling my jokes and talk about Shawn Wooden. So anyway, well, when he comes back, I'm going to get his take on the big game tonight. And we're going to transition into Alabama versus OSU if he dials back in. But maybe his phone died, which would mean that the show is going to end prematurely. And that's how it's going to roll. So we'll give this man about 15, 20 more seconds, and then we'll make a decision as to whether or not the show is over or we'll keep going. So if there's anything you guys would like to talk about, I'd love to tell you guys to dial in, but I'm taping the show, so you can't dial in. You can't tell me anything. So I'm just going to keep talking. I got some new Notre Dame helmets behind me, some skulls that we found over there, some new decorations. Maybe you guys like those. Maybe they interest you. I don't know. So let's see if Shawn is going to come back on the call or not. You have reached the voicemail box. I believe Shawn lost battery. So that's it for tonight's show. Sorry, guys, got cut off pretty quick. Hope you guys appreciate it. We out.